Hello everyone, welcome back to F1 2020 as we get ready to head off to round 2 of our Bahrain My Team career, setting up the Lo-Fi Racing team and seeing if we can get this from the back of the grid up to the front. Now we did have our usual career woes out in Australia, which always seems to happen. So we're battling with that a little bit, but you know, not a bad result. So we're going to get ready to get ourselves set up for qualifying in a moment here though. Just checking on and seeing if we've got any money to spend. Do we want to spend any money improving our second driver, as we have our old sad looking sim rig, which is actually kind of better almost than what I play on, but you know, can't complain. But apologies for the video coming out a little bit later. Was absolutely battling with some recording issues and computer crashes, so having fun with that. Basically the replay version of the race was only playing back when it was recorded at 93% speed, so I had to do a lot of time adjustment, and Premiere was not behaving nicely alongside with that, and proxies. So that made for some issues, and the sound got all desynced on those, so got some interesting sounds coming up when you do the cutaways. But we're going to get ready, head over to Sakir for qualifying on this nice desert track. See how the new handling model does around the hairpins here. But here we are, shooting down the front straight for the first time in anger at this track on the new handling model. You can get on the brakes a little bit later, almost all the way down to the 100-meter board. One thing you can do is you can keep it in higher gears through the hairpins. You don't get that little bit of extra rotation when you drop down a gear, typically. You're going to be able to kind of turn the car regardless of what gear you're in. It's really more dependent on your differential settings, which for this track I run fairly open because of the multiple low-speed corners. You see, normally you'd have to drop all the way down to first to really get the car to turn in, but we get to keep it in second. And another thing I've noticed about this handling model that I definitely like a lot is that in the old model you kind of pivoted around the center of the car almost. Especially at low speed, it kind of felt like you were just on a turntable and pointing the car that way. At low speed in 2020, it definitely feels like you're following where the front wheels are pointing. They're kind of actually turning the car, and you're using the rear axle as your pivot point. So it does result in me kind of overshooting some of the hairpins in practice, just because you're used to the car kind of almost the back end feeling like it's sliding around that corner, as opposed to at low speed coming around. Now in mid and high speed corners, you're still able to get the back end to step just a little bit to kind of pivot the car and slide it a little bit through a corner on aggressive runs. But there's our first lap time in, a pretty slow 28. But here we are jumping out on the soft tires here, the second time out in Q1 here. We'll see right now we're sitting P14. The top 16 cars make it through into Q2. Thanks to new teams being on the grid. Well, new team ourselves on the grid. So instead of only the top 15 making it, now top 16, you drop the bottom 6. I'm not sure. I think Q3 is still just the top 10 shootout. Don't know yet. Haven't made it through to that. So I guess we'll just have to wait and find out. But as we're coming through the last little sector here, we've dropped down to 17th, and we're just kind of flirting with the delta, not really improving that much. We finally get a little bit of a run, and we're up about 7/10 now as we come down to the final corner. We'll see if we can improve through this last corner, pick up about a 10th there, get the power down nice and smooth, keep it pretty steady, nice. Open that DRS, so we're going to improve by just under 2/10, so let's see if that's going to be enough to push us into Q2. And it is P15, so we're just going to sneak our way into the second qualifying session for the first time in our career mode here. So our team has the pace to get out there, or the car has enough pace, which is about right. It's kind of above Williams and Haas, right there with Alfa Romeo and Alfa Tauri. Unfortunately, Nick De Vries not so hot, unable to make it through into Q2. But here we are. We've only got the one extra set of soft tires left. So in Q2, I decided to go out on these unused medium tires just to kind of get a banker lap in and just kind of practice the circuit. And then that way when I get out on the soft tires at the end, I'll be able to really kind of push and get myself out there. But Here we are coming through the hairpin. You see runs a little bit deep. Have to scrub a little bit of extra speed off. Not getting as much of the cool sound effects as we did in Australia. Obviously with the walls being a little further away, you're not getting that as much of that sound echo in that kind of 3D audio that you've got going on. But still, love the engine sounds still. Sound a lot more like what the cars sound like in the onboards from the actual races. And thank God there's actual racing back again. This second race out in Austria, not quite the late banger that it was for the first race, but still a solid race. Some good battles all through the midfield the whole way. We're headed off to Hungary this weekend. We'll see how that turns out and see if Austria was truly representative of other teams' pace. But here we are, starting our final flying lap as the timer's kind of ticking down. We only put up a minute 30 on the medium tires, so definitely not as quick as those soft tires are, but let's see what kind of ground we can make up as we head into the hairpin. Try and get the throttle down without spinning the tires up too much. Car's definitely a lot more planted this season as well. Usually coming through turn 2, it just had the tendency to overcook and just keep turning left as you started to make your switch to turn 3 and start moving right. But now it feels a little bit more planted, not as bad. But here we are, already almost a full second up. Here's where we're really going to pick up some time because you can lean on those soft tires through those high-speed S's now. A little bit of a lock up into the hairpin, but not enough to really cost us any time. Already almost a second and a half up. Unsurprisingly, after doing a medium tire run, we are P16 in the session, but we should definitely improve by a significant amount when it comes to running these soft tires. But so Kvyat on P12 there is at a minute 6:5:05 as he crossed the second sector split. We'll see where we're at. We're 106.295, so we're just a hair up on him. We're almost 2 full seconds up. As Valtteri Bottas on the mediums was P12, but it looks like he's finished off his lap. And here we are coming out of the final corner, gaining about 2 seconds as we cross the line and go into the 28. We'll see, is that going to be enough to go Q3? Not quite, but we are lucky number 13 on the grid. Keeping our own car number is where we're starting, splitting the Alpha Tauri, so basically right where I expect this to be. Sergio Perez is surprisingly slow quali result. Lance Stroll making it through into Q3, but not Checo.
The stage is set for another enthralling race here in the Kingdom of Bahrain. A Ferrari stronghold in years gone by, but will they be able to add to their record today? Formula One returns to the desert today on this exceptional 3.36-mile circuit. 15 corners provide plenty of overtaking opportunities. It could be a strategic race, this one, with Sakir notorious for eating up the rear tyres. Watch out for drivers managing their rubber at some point during the Grand Prix. With me today, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Now, let's talk about Charles Leclerc. That was a great win in the last race. Can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
There are never any guarantees in this business, but certainly the performance last time out would have boosted their confidence coming into this one.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Albon, Daniel Ricciardo, and Norris, Ocon, Stroll, Verstappen, and Daniel Kvyat. Oldtimer, Vettel, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Pierre Gasly and Perez, Grosjean, Sainz, Antonio Giovinazzi, and Kimi Raikkonen, Russell, Magnussen, De Vries, and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out. Then let's see who can prevail today.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
All right, so we got a free couple extra positions thanks to some grid penalties. Sebastian Vettel and Carlos Sainz. at this stage, kind of just waiting for the performance patch to come in, because Ferrari is not looking like that this season. They look like they're not going to be challenging for any poles anywhere at any stage of this season. So we'll see. I'll definitely be applying that performance update because, Ferrari's illegal engines and all that fun jazz. But we're going to go ahead and go with the medium onto hard strategy. So we get out on the grid with the 5 red lights up, waiting for them to drop. And away they go. Kvyat gets a great initial phase, but is a little slow on the secondary acceleration. We get passed up by Vettel, who's starting on those softs. We got Gasly behind. We're going to look around the outside. Ooh, just kind of skirt the curbing there. I think we might have just about kept our two right tires inside the racing surface. No illegal overtakes on us, so apparently it's all good. We managed to shoot our way up around the outside to P7 at this early stage. Don't expect to be running there for too long, as we're the 3rd worst team on the grid in terms of performance index. But as of right now, we find ourselves in a bit of a Red Bull sandwich. We've got Albon ahead, Verstappen hustling us from behind. So we're going to see if we can make our car a little bit wide in the early stages of this race. Use some of that overtake to try and just keep fighting him back. Through turn 10 and on the exit down this little short back straight, an easy area to open up a little bit of a gap and get on the throttle a little bit earlier out of that slow corner. But once DRS is enabled, they're going to have the ability to attack back down there. Making sure just a teeny bit of a blend out as we come up the hill on this heavy fuel load and on the medium tires. A little bit wide through the exit. Is Verstappen going to get a run on us? He's right up behind. We're going to use quite a bit of overtake to try and keep him behind us. Now Sebastian Vettel's joining the fray against him, so they're side by side behind me. Let's see if we can let them squabble away a little bit. We are already losing plenty of ground to Alex Albon in front, already about a 1.5 seconds off, which is to be expected. I would say right now our car is probably around 2.5 seconds slower than the top teams per lap. So not expecting too much chasing people down. It's mostly going to be kind of managing strategy, managing pace. But here comes Vettel down the inside. No DRS. That is just that pure Ferrari engine pre-nerf. But he is unable to lunge it down the inside of us, and he's slotting back in through the S's. He's managed to get past Verstappen, though. They've kind of sorted their battle up, but I'm sure if Vettel is unable to get by me, then there's going to be a lot more trouble. We got quite a train forming behind us already. We've got a Red Bull, we got a McLaren, we've got a Racing Point, both AlphaTauris back there. A little bit of a lockup in turn 10, so we're a little slow on the exit, but now here comes Verstappen and Vettel side by side behind us again. A little slow into the entry. They're going to cover off Vettel there. He's not going to be able to get by, and they're going to have to kind of sort themselves out coming through this section. They're still side by side. All right, now Verstappen ducks back into the train, but big train behind us essentially all the way back. Good 7-8 positions. Now getting on the throttle here. Sebastian Vettel's got the slipstream. No DRS, but that is just the pure extra overtake and engine power. Catches a little bad slipstream. We're going to move a little to the inside to make sure that we cover off Verstappen. Don't lose both places all at once, but we're a little out of sorts through turn 1, but managed to keep DRS off of Vettel. But you can see he's already opened up almost 0.8 of a second through that first little bit. So let's get the car slowed down for turn 4 and manage to just get that nose turned in, and we're going to be able to keep Verstappen behind us for a little while. Now we've got to try and see, can we stay within that well, as I say it, we fall outside of that 1 second mark, but we're a little bit of a lockup and we're deep to the hairpin. Now Verstappen goes up the inside of us. We've got Lando Norris right behind having a look as we get on the brakes. Ooh, we catch a little hit in the back. That's going to push us out wide. Norris got into the back of us, pushed us out wide, and he's going to take that position off of us. So we are now falling down, unfortunately, with that train behind. DRS open slipstream. Ooh, we're a little bit late on the brakes. That's going to cause us to go deep into turn 11 here, and that's going to let Lance Stroll up the inside, and we're just not quite online. We're running wide through turn 12. Gasly on the inside teeny bit of a lockup. We're going to see if we can cover him off, but we've got both Alpha Tauris right up next to us. One behind, one to the side. We're going to use overtake as much as we can. Shoot down this little back straight, see if we can hold him off. Leave a little bit of space on the apex coming through, and he's going to have to kind of back out and step in. Luckily, we are still just within 1 second of Lance Stroll, so we're going to have DRS to help defend ourselves from those two Alpha Tauris. But a little mistake into the hairpin ended up losing me about 4 positions just from constantly dropping spots. 3 positions. Lost one from Vettel before, but now we just got to try and clean up our act a little bit, not make mistakes, and let's see if we can try and chase down the racing point out in front of us. I do think those racing points have a fair bit better. Ooh, and as I say about not making mistakes, big oversteer moment coming out of turn 4 there, and the back end just kind of got wild on us. So let's see if we can settle down and get the car going the right direction here, because at this moment we are losing all kinds of pace and all kinds of time, and we are outside of the points at the moment. And now Pierre Gasly is within a second of us, so he's going to have DRS down this next straight. You're going to have to use a little squirt of overtake to try and keep him behind. But here we are jumping ahead, lap 10 of 29. Most of the leaders on the softs have come in for their pit stop. That is going to put us in P2 in the race, with just Max Verstappen a good 12.5 seconds now out ahead of us. So in the 4 laps since he overtook us, he's picked up 12.5 seconds. So, or 6 laps, sorry, from lap 4 to lap 10. So he's picked up almost about 2 seconds a lap on us, which, like I was saying, about 2.5 seconds slower per lap than the leading teams is what our true pace is. And we've still got the lovely looking Alpha Tauri for company, but ooh, big oversteer moment coming out of the hairpin, and now here he comes, Gasly down the inside into turn 10. We're going to leave a little bit of space on the outside, see if we can't battle back from him. Unfortunately, we were a little bit ahead through the detection zone, so he's going to have DRS. We're going to have to use as much overtake as we've got about left to hold him behind, but we managed to just slip back ahead of him, heading up to turn 11, turn 12 now. But I would say this is a battle that is not soon over. We're very similar on pace to those Alpha Tauris right now, and we're going to be using quite a bit of that rich fuel mix to try and hold them behind. Been kind of saving some fuel through Sector 2 pretty consistently, and that allows us to really use the extra fuel on the straights. But here we are, DRS, overtake, slipstream, pretty good run down, but we're going to go ahead and hang it out around the outside. He kind of bounces off the curb, so we're going to swing way wide before we hit turn 2, make sure he doesn't get into the side pod of us. But that big, huge bump over the curbs definitely cost him the ability to make that overtake. And since we were behind through the detection zone, we get a little bit of DRS to fight back with. Now, the first of the times we go to this off-board full screen shot, you can hear that we've still got the old onboard engine sounds. Unfortunately, with the issues with the playback speed in the replay version, also audio got horrifically desynced and had a lot of dropouts. So, just decided to throw the onboard audio on. Hope that's all right with you guys. It's not my favorite choice, but I was already pretty annoyed with the constant crashes of Premiere and the problems of dealing with finding the exact time adjustment for the playback speed to work properly. So it should be only for this race that you'll have to deal with the onboard sounds in the offboard shots. Hopefully Hanoi's recording didn't have the same issues. As you can see, we're coming around, just hovering around a second over at Kvyat there. Kind of battling with both Alpha Tauris, but here we are diving into the pit lane. Lap 13 is time to get off of these medium tires. It looks like I see some softs running through. Looks like probably most of the top teams are going with a 2-stop strategy. A lot of activity in the pit lane, a lot more cars coming in to get serviced as our very stormtrooper looking crew makes a relatively quick change, a 3-second stop. And we've got Pierre Gasly now behind us on the hards as well, so that is going to be our fight to the end. And here comes Sainz and Latifi through. Should be able to make our way past that Williams pretty handily without too much time. Luckily, we came out inside the DRS range, so that's going to allow us to attack pretty quickly. You just need to kind of, this lap, feel out those hard tires, see where the grip is, how they perform compared. Not a lot of hard tire running in the practice sessions, especially not long stints. We'll see how they do on race fuels, and basically we're taking them to the end, so not much of a choice that way, but we should have plenty of pace over the Williams. See, we're all over the back of them. Flip that rear wing open with the DRS. We're going to be close enough to attack into turn 11 here. Not quite right there. We were right up behind him. We're going to cut to the inside. We're going to get the apex first. Now we're going to hang it out around the outside of turn 12, side by side into the braking zone of turn 13. We're able to be a little bit later on the brakes, go straight to the apex, cover off the nose, and manage to get by him. So that's going to at least put somebody in between us and Kvyat in the AlphaTauri behind. I believe that's Kvyat, but you heard Nick DeVries, our teammate, coming in for his stop. But now let's see if we can make hay while the sun is shining on that little run. But jumping ahead now, lap 17, we're up into P10 after some pit stops have shaken out. We've got the Renault of Danny Rick all over the back end of us now in a much quicker car. Now here he is with DRS switching to the inside under braking. We're going to go side by side with him, see if we can fight, but a little bit slow on the acceleration zones. We get to turn 2 first. We're going to leave him space on the inside, turn 3, but he is going to have DRS on us, and there's not much we can do to fight back from that, since even though we were kind of side by side, I was still ahead when we hit the detection zone. So back end steps out just a little bit, getting on the power out of turn 4, but now we've got Pierre Gasly on the hard tire, same tire as us, right behind us. And yeah, Danny Rick is on those medium tires, so we'll see if he's coming back in. But ooh, back end really steps out coming out of the hairpin. That's going to allow Gasly yet another run into turn 10. He wheel bangs into us. That's going to cause us to lock up and go way out wide. So unfortunately, not quite the clean fight we had. I think he got in on the inside curb of turn 9 and overcorrected. But we're going to see if we can't stay close to him, fight back, and get this position off. And we got some damage to our side pod, it looks like. Luckily, it's only cosmetic. It's not going to do any damage to our pace. Teeny bits of lockups here and there, but let's see if we can hang in the DRS distance from Pierre Gasly here and get that position back from him, because I don't think he necessarily took it from us in a particularly clean fashion. I'm not a big fan of the way he did it. We got a little bit of front wing damage, a little chip out of that. Looks like front right main plane. Here, our DRS is open in the slipstream, closing up. Which way are we going to go? Inside, outside? We're going to go outside, so we wait. Now we're on the brakes into turn 1, hanging out around the outside. He's very slow over those curbs, and that's going to allow us to really get the hammer down. But he's not too far off of us. Still going to have DRS down this next straight, but I don't think it's going to be enough for him to get past us. So we managed to take that position back off of him. We're up into P9 now. It looks like somebody else has ducked into the pit lanes from the 2-stop runners. And there's only 10 laps left to go in this race to try and score our first points in our team's history. But you see us running that lean mix in this sector here. As soon as we finally start to get the power down, we'll flip it back to the standard. But now we can be kind of managing the tires. We don't want to run out of tires before the end of this race. We did quite a bit of damage to the mediums on that first stint. So let's see if we are going to be quick enough and gentle enough on the tires in this second stint to hold pace all the way through to the end. Because one of the other things that happened in Australia was I had good pace on the early phase of the tire stints, but towards the end I just kind of ate the tires up a little bit too much and started losing good chunks of time at the tail end of the race. But Leclerc and Hamilton trading the fastest laps back and forth there. Gasly still inside of that 1 second. And he's got his teammate, Danny Kvyat, right behind. But it looks like Norris coming in for a stop. We're up into P8 now. We can break a little bit later into turn 1 now that even though we're on a less grippy tire, that fuel load's starting to burn way down, carrying only about a little bit less than a third of what we started with. And jumping ahead, lap 28, it was pretty much just driving around in circles with Pierre Gasly behind me. Not a lot of attacks from him then, but this time he's managed to close it back up, and I think that tire life is coming back around to him because he's managed to close the gap right back up to us. It was kind of hovering between 7/10 and a second pretty much through the whole stint between lap 20 and 27. But here we are on 28, the second to last lap, and he has managed to close that gap right back up on us. But now, can we hold him off? A little bit cleaner through the hairpin. We've got a racing point involved too, so got to see if we can keep him behind, make sure we don't make any mistakes. But big lockups as we're coming into turn 10 there, but luckily not enough space for him to dive up the inside of us, get that traction down, and shoot down the little back straight. The DRS is open. He's going to have a little bit of a look, not quite enough on braking, to the inside of us into turn 11. At this point, I'm just really hoping that Sergio Perez is going to fight with Gasly and give us a little bit of breathing space, but it doesn't seem like that's necessarily going to be the case. They're both within a second of me, so they're both going to have DRS. So even if Pierre Gasly manages to get past, we need to make sure that we don't lose 2 positions. But as you can see, Rich Mix fully up. Deploy a little bit of overtake at the start of the straight. I don't have a whole lot left. I'm going to have to use some kind of in the middle. As you can see, Gasly closing up down into the single-digit percentages on the ERS left. So recover some of that through braking here. You have to use a little bit more coming down this short back straight, and we've got Gasly right up behind, and it's quite a fight coming here, but we should be able to have just enough overtake left in the tank and just enough pace to stay ahead. You hear 9.4 seconds from the engineer ahead. We definitely lost touch with that group in front of us, and I would say if this stage, if Pierre Gasly had gotten by us again, we probably wouldn't have been able to reel him back in. We would definitely be in trouble, but we're just trying to maximize our time on the apexes here, keep them from getting a good run out of corners, use the overtake where we can as we are on this final lap here. Max Verstappen comes through with the race win in his Red Bull. Sebastian Vettel grabbing the fastest lap coming through, but we are P8, about 10 seconds off of Danny Rick. And there's been, looks like 2 DNFs because there's only 20 cars running left here. But now, here he is, Pierre Gasly, right in the slipstream. Not a lot of tire traction left. We have to use pretty much all of our overtake to just get to the line ahead of him. We'll see if we can get enough power down. We're just opening up that overtake, cranking up the engine, and using everything that's left. And we managed to just come out ahead of him and grab our first points of our career. First points for this brand new team, and we managed to do it by coming P8. Bahrain's definitely a track you can snag some of those cheeky points off of because of the availability of alternate strategies that definitely helped us out.
It was a magnificent race and a drive right out of the top draw to take the win for Red Bull today. So Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
Well, when you overtake that many people, I'd certainly hope you'd win the race. Their car was really effective in the slipstream here today, and the team will be pleased that they didn't cook the engine, given how long they were spending in the hot air behind other cars. They had a lot of confidence to push their tyres hard as well, especially going into the corners, which allowed for some late braking and some exciting passes.
Red Bull are our winners today after showcasing some incredible driving. There's been a huge push from them lately to stay competitive with the other teams, and they're certainly proving themselves. And now let's take a look at the driver's standings. This result narrows the gap between our championship leader and the rest of the standings. Let's focus on the driver of the day, Anthony Davidson. Who do you pick?
I have to say Sebastian Vettel certainly caught my eye during today's race. Incredible driving.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. Ferrari take the lead at the top of the table. Meanwhile, a strong weekend from Red Bull this time out, and they improve their position in the championship. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time? Be sure to join us again as we continue to bring you the latest excitement in Formula One.
We got a solid drive from our teammate there, Nick. Comes up into 13th from starting 21st on the grid. We'll see who the DNFs are. It is Kevin Magnuson and Esteban Ocon. But Nick finishing only about 11 seconds behind us over a 29-lap race. So he's losing only about 3.5 tenths to us a lap. So not bad pace from him either. But that moves us up into P10 in the championship there with our 4 points.
So that was an exciting race from our perspective.
Hey Claire,
Let's have yours. You were cutting your way through the field during the race.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, it didn't look like anybody else had as much grip as we did. I mean, that's really what mattered in that first corner.
You're breaking all expectations. What's your secret?
I mean, there's no secret. Gotta have a good team, gotta have a good car, and setting up the team makes me happy.
Great. Well, that's
Oh,
everything.
really? Only 2 questions? That's it, Claire? All right, bye. So we've got a driver acclaim level. We're getting close to boosting our team acclaim, so we're getting closer to being able to grab another sponsor sometime here and make a little bit of extra cash. But we did finish our secondary sponsors bonus task, so a little extra chunk of money for us there. We do have some developments coming in, but first things first, time to set up a little bit of activities for our team to do. Makes them sound like kids on a playground. You got to give them activities, but see how we can develop our team and see what we can do. So durability, we're definitely burning up the engines at this point, and then we've got driver promotions, increase the claim. I'd go double durability to really help that out. And then what do we have? 4 days left? Yeah. So we can still fit, we'll fit a couple 2-dayers in there, help out some of the racecraft for our secondary driver. But you can see we're just right there with Alpha Tauri, Alfa Romeo, just above Haas and Williams there. But we got a good chunk of change now in our pockets, about $2 million US. But first, developments. Let's see, what can we afford? We got about 1,000 R&D points in the bag. What do we want to spend it on? We've got 1 chassis development in there. Need to upgrade our facility to open up the next kind of tier of chassis developments. We can, we'll go ahead and do another downforce. I mean, keeping the aero moving along. I'm hoping for some engine upgrades coming in from Honda at some point here, but we can also do some spark plug changes. So spending all of our R&D points there. We should have some stuff coming in, hopefully before the next race, help us move up to battling more with Alpha Tauri. But see, nobody really, only looks like Red Bull and Racing Point and us. Little upgrades into the second race there. But let's jump into the facilities and that lovely low res image at the back. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Not the prettiest. But where do we wish to spend our money? Yeah, we'll spend some in the chassis development, and that's going to help us increase resource points. So we're going to generate some more. And that's going to be pretty much all of our money, because we've only got $66,000 left. Went from being multi-millionaires to not, I suppose. But we'll get ready to push that stuff forward. Checking on the life of the engine. Yeah, see, already 51% on the ICE. Definitely need some durability upgrades. We'll probably be taking some engine penalties throughout this season. I'm trying not to push, because 50% is where you start to get your first engine power drop-offs. And as you wear it out more, you lose more and more power. So with our car being so low on the performance spectrum already, we're definitely going to need to have all that power on tap. So I probably won't run that internal combustion engine too much further. We'll continue to take grid penalties as necessary and try and battle our way through. I'd rather have the engine in the race pace than an extra couple of qualifying slots. And we'll probably strategically take a full gearbox or a full rebuild the race before Monaco.
We had a major issue on the production line earlier this week, so the entire development package for this weekend has failed. Check your R&D screen to order any redevelopments.
Carl! You failed the entire thing? The whole package? Oh, a major upgrade too? That could have been big. especially going into Vietnam, where it's a very very important track to have front downforce because a lot of turning needed. That brings us to the end of this episode. We're going to get ready to head off to Hanoi, and I will catch you guys next time. Thanks for joining me. Peace.
Think carefully who you select. While you will